Good morning, everyone. I want to thank everybody for showing up. We do this every year, and it's a great time of year. Throughout each year, I get to watch our officers do great things. I get to see community members do great things and supporting us, and I get to see various businesses helping us out and being great partners to move York City forward. So the things that I get to see every day, once a year, we get to recognize here today. As we go through the awards and the presentations, a lot of them are very short. We have to cut them down in size, or otherwise we'd be standing up here describing a day-long event that happened. So we think the awards that we give out to our officers are very justified. The process that we go through the end of each year, just for people who aren't familiar with it and haven't been here before, is that our supervisors turn in recommendations for awards each year. At the end of the year, the command staff of the police department and the FOP get together, and we sit down and we look at the awards, and we make sure that they fit within the different criteria of the awards that are being recommended. Sometimes they're raised, sometimes they're lowered, but we try and go through an honest process to make sure that our guys are being recognized, the men and women of the department, and that we're doing justification to the award also. So thank you again for coming today. We appreciate your attendance and recognizing our officers. And I'm going to ask Mayor Bracy to come forward to give some remarks.
Good morning, everyone. It's good to see all of you. It's always a pleasure to be here. I'd like to thank all the elected officials that are here. If there are any with us, we do appreciate your continued support of our officers, and it means a lot when you come out. I want to also thank all the assembled law enforcement personnel, your families, other guests for joining us today to say thank you for another year of great work in our community. Thank you to the best police chief and honorable man, one that many mayors envy, by the way. As everyone here knows, your work isn't easy. In fact, in times of growing demands and limited resources, along with the additional public scrutiny of your every move, your jobs have never been more difficult. But your efforts to protect and serve with honor and professionalism, the citizens of this community are indeed noticed and appreciated. We have a great police department because of all of you, and I thank you very much, each one of you. As the chief mentioned, there are several awards today. I congratulate all of you in advance, and thank you for the great work you do for our entire city. Thank you. I can't say it enough for your continued service. Thank you for choosing to work in the city of York. May God bless you. May God bless your families, and may God bless our York. Thank you.
As the mayor knows, I'm not very good at running off of scripts. I kind of do my own thing, so I've already screwed the script up today. But I'd like to ask Reverend Ulrich to come forward to give us the invocation.
Let us bow our heads in prayer. As we gather to give praise and thanks to those who have served so well among us, we pause to address the one who gives all life, all health, all strength, all ability to all of us. One whom we know as our God, our higher power, the one who has given life and all that we have. And we give thanks to God for blessing us with the ability to serve, for blessing us to be able to reap the benefits of those who give of their best among us and who make us proud. So we ask God to bless our time today, and as we recognize so many great accomplishments, may we give all the thanks, all the praise, and all the glory to our God, in whose name we pray. Amen.
I'd like to ask John Buchkowski to come forward, please. Each year, and especially lately, we've had many officers retire from the department. They spend a lot of time serving the community, again, in a thankless job, and at the end, we want to say thank you to them for serving honorably as they go out the door. Unfortunately, there's a lag. We order each officer their badge in a lucite casing so they have it to display in their home or office, wherever they choose. But there's generally about a year lag, so we're kind of behind sometimes. But we wanted to present John with his badge today. John served 24 years with us. We work a blue-collar job, and John kind of epitomizes that because he was a coal miner before coming to us. So he's worked a lot of hard jobs in his life, and he spent some extra time with us here. He served as a firearms instructor. He rode motorcycles for us, worked in the patrol division his career. And that's one of those jobs, a lot of people don't understand that there's officers that choose not to move up in rank and do investigative jobs because they love being a patrolman. And I think that's what John did, and John spent his time in our patrol division, mostly on night work. We kept trying to talk him into coming to day work, but he wanted to stay a night person his whole life. I don't know if that's from being down in the mines or what that is, but John's a good guy, and we want to thank him for the time that he gave to us, and we wish him luck in his retirement.
I've wanted to do this since I came to York. I came from Western Pennsylvania to York, and it became home. And I just want to thank all the citizens of York and for giving me the opportunity to do something that I always wanted to do my entire life. Thank you. And thank my wife for putting up with 24 years. Thank you.
Each year we have so many different organizations and businesses that help support the York City Police Department and partner with us, and we try and recognize them. The funny thing is now we're kind of getting into some repetitive awards, but a lot of these organizations keep stepping forward in helping us. So we had to change the awards this year that we give out to those, because we didn't want them to look the same and have several of them hanging up on the wall. We wanted to give them something different. So we're going to go through and recognize those groups now. To begin with, I'd like Russ Wantz to come forward. Russ and the Shad Detective Agency has been a great partner for the police department for a very long while now. He does a lot of things behind the scenes for us, making sure our cars keep running, trying to find parts for us on the cheap that keep our cars running, assisting us with investigatory equipment and those sorts of things. So without him, a lot of things wouldn't get done in the police department, and we definitely appreciate him, especially in our economic trying times of keeping us on the road and keeping us doing the job that we need to do. So we wanted to thank Russ and the Shad Detective Agency. Wellspan present? Anyone from Wellspan? Nope. Bruce didn't show up? Okay. Just quickly, Wellspan, as everyone knows from reading the papers, has just been a very long-term partner with us, helping us again with our vehicles, helping most recently with our body camera program, and we can't thank them enough for stepping up and moving the York City Police Department forward. So we'll make sure that they get their award. They're a little shy at receiving the awards sometimes. Lamar Advertising and Rabbit Transit. Oops. Most recently, if you watched in the news or you drive down the road, you see a lot of advertisements out there for our Tips 411 project, which is an anonymous tip line that we have out there for people to give us tips on crimes that are happening or any information that they feel we need to know. And it's hard getting the word out sometime, and most recently Rabbit Transit and Lamar Lamar stepped forward to help provide us with some advertisement with billboards. Rabbit helped us at some of their kiosks and on some of their buses to try and get the word out. As a matter of fact, we had a webinar with 411 yesterday, and the representative was telling us how, based off of the news coverage that we got for that event, they've had so many more people calling us. In fact, SEPTA stepped up, and they said they want to do it in the Philadelphia area for their police departments in that area. So it was some great national coverage that got out there that helped move 411's project together. We're trying to get some commission off of that, Mayor, see if we can get something back. But yeah, but two great partners for us, and they provided something that we were unable to provide for ourselves. And we just wanted to say thank you. All right. We owe someone one. Felt good on me. We owe two. Want to go for three? No? The lip doesn't catch it here. We learn a lesson. Where's the box set for? I'd like Mike Consiglio, Joe Turs, Bill Hauser, and Scott Endy to come forward, please. Bill, you're going home without one. Joe couldn't come today? Okay. The gentleman you see before you today, Scott Endy, can I say you're retired now, or how do I say? He's retired special agent with ATF. Mike Consiglio is an assistant U.S. attorney with the Middle District of Pennsylvania, and Bill Hauser is also an assistant U.S. attorney with the Middle District, correct? And Joe Turs, who isn't here today, also is an assistant U.S. attorney for the Middle District of Pennsylvania. We got a lot of news coverage over the last couple of years, and most recently for a federal case that we worked with ATF taking down the Southside criminal street gang here in York. We've presented some awards to our members and tried to get recognition for the great job that was done. It was a 3-year-long investigation. I think the trial lasted 3 months or so. Yeah. That doesn't include a lot of the preparation time that went in, but our officers wanted to make sure that all these gentlemen got recognized. I know there were times where I would call our investigators on the weekend, and they were up in Harrisburg with these gentlemen sitting around going through volumes of paperwork and going over testimony and those sorts of things. So I know I don't realize, and I know since I don't, most people in this room won't realize the amount of time that these gentlemen put in for the city of York. And, you know, again, we often talk about people caring about our community that aren't from our community, that don't live in our community, but are dedicated to their job. And these gentlemen epitomize that, because I'm sure probably none of you were ever in York prior to this taking place. Scott, I don't know if you were or not, but, you know, so for them to take the amount of time out of their life. Joe, you want to come up? I should have broke this. No, that's fine. Yeah. You get to make the grand entrance. So for them to take the time out of their lives, out of their families' lives that they put into this case, we can never say thank you enough. And we just wanted to give them something to display in their office or their home to let them know how much the York City Police Department and the citizens of York appreciate their work. Thank you very much. I have the wrappers so you don't break them. Very quickly. Here's your boxes.
Wait, since I didn't get an award, I get to say a couple
Okay.
of words.
Bill
And
gets to say
I get to say something because I didn't get my award, all right? And all I wanted to say was that everything that we did was made possible by the great work of the York City Police Department. I have to tell you that the case that we brought was a significant one. Mike Consiglio was the primary lead from our point, and Scott Endy, but we couldn't have done it without the great work of the chief's police department. And I have to say that as a prosecutor, I've never had a chief more involved in a prosecution. He actually provided me with transcripts to use on cross-examination of the defense expert. I really didn't have to do anything because
You had to read it.
yeah, I had to read everything, but it was great working with you.
Sure,
Thanks a
thank
lot.
you, sir. Here's your box. Trying to clear. I told you we shouldn't have gotten to this. Is David Marshall here? No? Okay. We're going to take an opportunity to read this. There are citizens in our community that do great things each day and don't necessarily get recognized for it. And I love the fact that one of our officers stepped forward to make sure that this person got recognized. So on February 9th, 2016, at approximately 11 p.m., David Marshall, a security officer with Shad Security, was conducting a security sweep in the York Kia lot when he noticed a vehicle that was parked in the lot with a vacuum hose attached to the tailpipe and led into the rear window of the car. Marshall radioed for assistance from police and fire personnel and then made contact with the vehicle's occupant. Marshall engaged the occupant in conversation and learned that he was distraught over recent life events and in the process of attempting to take his own life. Marshall was able to coax the subject from the vehicle while waiting emergency personnel to arrive. Marshall was able to bring about a positive result in intervening in what would have surely been a tragic outcome. In follow-up, it was learned that the subject had parked his vehicle in the lot in an attempt to camouflage it from passerbys and was at the moment it was discovered was finalizing the details in attempting his suicide. Mr. Marshall's name was submitted for recognition of his actions by Officer John Huncher. Instances where a citizen voluntarily provides meritorious and exemplary assistance to another citizen in a matter in which the city becomes involved. Based on his performance, David Marshall was hereby awarded a meritorious service certificate by the York City Police Department. I'd like Jason Brown to come forward. Jason, if you can't tell, is our IT guy for the police department. We kind of adopted Jason several years back. He continually showed up in our department working on various projects that needed to be taken care of. And as most of us know that are my age or older, we're not very good with technology, so you kind of need a younger guy to help out with that. And he fills that role in a great fashion. He's been a great asset to us. I thank the mayor for making sure that he got to work with us full time. We definitely needed that. But again, Jason's someone, the detective division of the police department wanted to make sure that he got recognized for the work that he does on a daily basis to help them with investigations. On June 9, 2006, the City of York hired a new employee to work within the relatively new Department of Information Technologies. That's within our department. This department is tasked with maintaining all databases, hardware, and software utilized by all employees as well as citizens conducting business with the City of York. This employee quickly adapted to his new environment and job duties. His ability to address computer issues as well as mastering the various technologies that were being adopted by the police department did not go unnoticed. He quickly became the go-to guy when dealing with the camera systems, records management systems, and storage utilization. His easygoing manner and willingness to help aided in the command staff recognizing his superior effort. In January of 2013, the Chief of Police formally requested this employee be permanently assigned to the police department full-time. And with that effort, a new period in his employment began. With the onset of video equipment in the public sector, he has been called upon numerous times to assist the Detective Bureau in retrieving video surveillance from security systems. These systems varied in their size and complexity and oftentimes frustrated the owners of the systems in their operations. His ability to sit in front of a foreign system and within a few seconds immediately retrieve the desired data has saved countless hours as well as expedited the identification of suspects. Jason has also launched several in-house projects at the bequest of the command staff in an effort to increase efficiency and develop new investigative tools. These efforts required him to research, test, evaluate, and improve the product, and then repeat the process until the desired outcome was achieved. This was all accomplished while still maintaining his primary duties of monitoring and maintaining the records management system, telestaff, payroll, and work groups, just to name a few. It is with extreme gratitude the York City Police Department would like to recognize Jason Brown for his outstanding service and commitment to his duties to this department and the citizens of York who ultimately benefit from his efforts. Jason Brown is hereby awarded a certificate of appreciation in accordance with our general orders. Jackie Marrero. Hi, Jackie. And I'm not sure when you started, Jackie. It seems like you've been here forever. 2008. You get used to seeing someone over and over again. But Jackie was hired by our police department to help in our community services division and do our community outreach for us and our crime prevention. And she's done a fantastic job in doing that for us. Her supervisor, Lieutenant Fells, again, I get to read these things, but it's the supervisors that put the individuals in for the awards, and he wanted to make sure that Jackie was recognized for her efforts. Ms. Jacqueline Marrero has been the York City Police Department's crime prevention coordinator, I would only just read this, since July 2008. During her tenure, she has demonstrated care, diligence, and dedication to the citizens of York. In 2015, Ms. Marrero again performed her duties in an outstanding manner. National Night Out is a shining example of Jackie's professionalism and strong work ethic. She helped grow this project into an organized crime prevention awareness program with 35 or more sites and hundreds of volunteers representing various churches, nonprofit organizations, and businesses. National Night Out requires months of planning and coordination with the volunteers. Jackie recruits and mentors new volunteers and, where possible, delegates appropriate tasks to seasoned and experienced community partners. She developed a survey and tracking system for the National Night Out sites, researched crime prevention handouts, and partnered with local criminal justice students to play the role of McGruff, the crime dog, at each site. Jackie's efforts have garnered much goodwill for the police department and positive exposure for the city of York. Residents enjoy and support this effort because Jackie ensures that it reflects and belongs to them. Her efforts and involvement in National Night Out have been outstanding, worthy of acknowledgement and recognition of achievement. It is with extreme gratitude that the York City Police Department would like to recognize Jacqueline Marrero for her outstanding service and commitment to her duties, this department and the citizens of York who ultimately benefit from her effort. Jacqueline Marrero is hereby awarded a certificate of appreciation in accordance with our general orders. We're going to shift gears here real quick. We have two promotions to do, both to the rank of detective. And I'd like to ask soon-to-be Detective Schermeyer and soon-to-be Detective DeHart to come forward. Just so you know, the rank of detective in our department is an appointed rank. There's no testing for it, but there's a selection process throughout the detective division and the command staff to try and come up with who we want the next people to move up into those positions are. And once they get there, they're not automatically promoted. There's a probationary period. Sometimes it's at least a minimum of a year, but with these gentlemen, it was a little bit longer because of some issues that were going on in the police department. But they have to prove that that they want to be there, that they're good partners for the other detectives that are there, and that they're worthy of getting the rank of detective. And both these gentlemen definitely did that. You doing both at the same time?
If you will, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, please state your name. Do solemnly swear. That I will support, obey, and defend. The Constitution of the United States. And the Constitution of this Commonwealth. I will obey, uphold, and enforce. The laws of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And the ordinances of the City of York. I will do this without consideration. To a person's race, color, or sex. Religious creed, sexual orientation, or age. National origin or handicap. And that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity. Congratulations, gentlemen. Thank you so much.
No, that's it. All right, we're going to get into into our Chiefs Commendation Awards, and the various awards that we give out. The first one we're going to do today are called Chiefs Commendations. Again, for those that haven't been to this ceremony before, what the Chiefs Commendation basically is an award for basically a high-level felony arrest. Something that extraordinary that the officers did in an investigation that required a low risk to their personal safety. Many of the awards you're going to see that we give out encompass a whole lot of officers at one time, and you know, the police department operates on teamwork. There's generally not just one person that does any one thing to make this place move forward. It takes a group of people to make an arrest happen, to fulfill an investigation, and you'll see that in many of the awards that we give today. This first one especially has a lot of people. Again, some of the officers will be here, some of them won't. They're either working or they work night work. Last night we're a 24/7 operation, 365 days, so if they worked last night, many of them are probably in bed at this time of the morning. But if you're here with Sergeant Lawrence, Officer Hansel, Crumpton, Reedy, the D1C Jeff Spence, Detective Dehart, Detective Ripley, Officer John Hanuska, and Matt Amig from the West Manchester Township Police Department. If you're here, if you could come forward, please. Okay, we have a few. On January 24, 2015, at approximately 2 p.m., York City officers were dispatched to a shots fired call in the 300 block of East King Street. Officers Lawrence and other officers arrived on scene and found a 15-year-old gunshot victim and directed EMS to transport him to York Hospital. In subsequent interviews of witnesses, officers learned the shooting stemmed from a snowball throwing incident. A car was struck by one of the snowballs, and at that time the subject exited the vehicle, firing several shots at the juveniles who were involved. Officers who remained at the shooting scene began collecting evidence, shell casings, etc., when they learned of a video showing part of the incident was recorded by a security camera in the area. Officers on scene then received suspect vehicle information from witnesses and were able to determine that the suspect lived in the 1000 block of West King Street. York City officers, along with Officers Hanuska and Amig from the West Manchester Township Police Department, went to the West King Street address, found the suspect vehicle, and subsequently took the suspect into custody without incident. The suspect was interviewed by detectives and confessed to the shooting. The handgun used was also recovered as a result. The subject was subsequently charged with aggravated assault. The incident involved the cooperation and teamwork of the patrol officers and detectives of the York City Police Department, as well as officers from the neighboring jurisdiction, which allowed the suspect to be arrested and charged with felony assault. In accordance with the York City General Orders, these officers are hereby awarded the Chief's Commendation.
Officer Greg Schick. On April 5th, 2015, at approximately 1 a.m., Officer Schick and other officers were dispatched to the area of the 400 block of Smith Street for a call for a man with a gun. Officer Schick noticed a group of young men hanging around a car at the location given, and as they saw his vehicle, they all began to run in various directions. Officer Schick noticed one subject that matched the physical description given as the suspect with the gun, and as he exited his vehicle and pursued this suspect. While giving chase, Officer Schick noticed the suspect had a chrome handgun in his hand. Officer Schick continued the foot pursuit, and the subject was subsequently taken into custody. Due to Schick's observation and tenacity, a felony arrest was made, and a stolen gun was taken off the streets. In accordance with the York City Police General Orders for recognition of achievement, Officer Gregory Schick is hereby awarded a Chief's Commendation for superior performance.
Officer Zachary Pelton. On June 12, 2015, at around 10:30 a.m., York City detectives and officers responded to 808 South Duke Street, second floor, in an attempt to locate a wanted burglary suspect. Upon knocking and announcing the police presence, officers heard a subject running up the stairs. Officers witnessed the suspect go out the window and out onto the roof on the third floor. Additional officers immediately responded to the area and set up a perimeter around the 800 block of South Duke Street. After an extended period of time, officers were unable to locate the suspect and believed that he had somehow managed to get down from the roof undetected or successfully conceal himself into another residence. Officer Pelton was keeping a watch on the roof of the residence and advised officers that he had seen a small puff of dust come from one of the chimneys to the north of the suspect's residence. Officers called for the fire department to assist with the ladder truck. Officers searched the roof areas and began to search the chimneys for the subject. Officers heard the very faint sound of someone calling for help and could see the faint movement at the bottom of one of the small chimneys. The fire department and the confined space rescue team were able to extricate the subject from the chimney from inside the residence, cutting through the wood and brick. The alert observation of Officer Zachary Pelton without a doubt saved the life of the suspect, who was trapped in the very small confines of the chimney. In accordance with the York City Police Department's General Order for Recognition of Achievement, Officer Pelton is awarded a Chief's Commendation for his actions.
Officers Hansel, Keller, and Reedy. I guess you have to represent everybody. On April 5th, 2015, at approximately 1 p.m., York City police officers were dispatched to the 200 block of West Philadelphia Street for a call of two men running down the street carrying a gun and a knife. Subjects were seen entering a vehicle, and a description was given to the responding officers. Less than a minute later, the vehicle was spotted by one of the officers, and its location radioed to the other officers that were responding. The vehicle was eventually stopped as a high-risk search. During the course of the commands being given to the occupants of the vehicle, one of the subjects threw the handgun out of the vehicle and then attempted to exit and flee on foot. After a short struggle, the two suspects were taken into custody. The firearm was recovered, and the knife was recovered from the second suspect. One of the persons in custody, from one of the persons in custody, it was learned they had attempted to rob the store at 55 North Newberry Street and had fled after the store owner produced his own weapon. Because of the officers' quick response and observations, two armed robbery suspects were taken into custody and subsequently charged, as well as a firearm taken off the street. In accordance with the York City General Orders, you are hereby awarded the Chief's Commendation.
Officer John Hunter. On May 3rd, 2015, at approximately 0140 hours, 1:40 a.m., Officer Hunter, along with other officers, was dispatched to the area of South Belvedere and West Princess Street to investigate reports of a man with a gun. As he was nearing the area, he noticed two subjects on the 600 block of School Place, and that one of those matched the description of the subject reported to be firing the weapon. When Officer Hunter confronted these subjects, they began acting suspicious and attempted to hide their actions from him. Officer Hunter radioed for assistance, and after other officers arrived, he was able to safely conduct a more thorough investigative stop. As a result, he was able to locate a handgun that one of the subjects had attempted to conceal not far from where they had been standing. The arrest not only led to a gun being safely taken off the streets, but also the arrest of a known felon who is not to possess a firearm. In accordance with the York City Police General Orders for recognition of achievement, Officer John Hunter is hereby awarded the Chief's Commendation for a specific act which clearly surpassed normal requirements and resulted in a major arrest involving personal risk.
Detective Spence, Fetro, Petticord, Baez, Ripley, Sowers, Ludgko, Schermeyer, and Dehart. Officers Husted, Rozier, Perry, Sergeant James, and Special Agent Lewis. On August 29th of 2015, around 3 a.m., officers were dispatched to the 200 block of North Hartley Street for the report of a suspicious vehicle parked in the area. Upon the arrival, Officer Husted located the vehicle and discovered a deceased female inside the car with multiple gunshot wounds. He proceeded to canvass the neighborhood to locate and interview any possible witnesses. Officers Perry, Rozier, and Sergeant James of the York County Detective Division processed the scene along with the vehicle, which produced gunshot residue samples, proving that the shooting happened inside the car and not outside, as the offender would later claim. Detectives Spence, Ripley, Baez, Fetro, Schermeyer, Dehart, Ludgko, and Sowers responded to the scene and to headquarters to conduct the investigation. This team assembled an investigative plan which quickly installed and diligently executed in the next 48 hours to bring the case to closure. Investigators discovered that the victim had recently been involved in a domestic situation with her child's father, in which he had taken their 4-year-old daughter. The first priority was for the investigators to locate the child and account for her safety. They spent the first stage of this investigation successfully locating the child and then began to focus on the homicide. Once the offender was revealed through this collaborative effort, the U.S. Marshal Fugitive Task Force with Special Agent Lewis and Detective Petticord began the manhunt for the offender, and they were ultimately responsible for locating him in Dauphin County. The actions taken by this investigative team and the original officers at the scene demonstrated the importance of the team concept in a major investigation. This case was solved and the offender was apprehended quickly due to the patrol division, detectives, county agencies, and federal law enforcement working together towards the common goal of justice. In accordance with the York City Police Department General Order for Achievement, these officers are awarded the Chief's Commendation for group action resulting in a major felony arrest.
Officer Daniel Kling. Kling here? Nope. On October 1st, 2015, at approximately 12:30 p.m., the York City Police Department received information from the Helen Thaxton School that there was going to be a shooting at school dismissal, which was scheduled for 1 p.m. Officers were assigned to the area for dismissal due to the recent violence in that area and the credibility of the threat. While on patrol, Officer Kling witnessed a red or maroon Ford Escape with Maryland tags driving recklessly in a manner towards a daycare facility. Officer Kling quickly called out a description of the vehicle and the direction of travel. Officer Kling spotted the vehicle and observed the driver attempting to hide something under the seat. He initiated a traffic stop of the vehicle and after a short pursuit took the driver into custody. Officer Kling recovered crack cocaine, cash, a black ski mask, and a cell phone from the suspect's person. A loaded Smith & Wesson 9mm handgun was also recovered from the driver's side floorboard of the suspect's vehicle, and a scale and additional drug paraphernalia. It was also learned that the suspect was currently out on bail for a prior firearms violation. In accordance with the York City Police Department's general orders, Officer Kling is hereby awarded the Chief's Commendation.
Officers Michael Meeker and Paul Thorne. On October 19, 2015, Officers Meeker and Officer Thorne were both assigned to the Center District for patrol duties. During his patrol, Officer Meeker was approached by Edward Rivera, Jr., who reported to him that he had just been robbed at gunpoint. Upon Meeker obtaining a thorough description and direction of travel of the suspect, he immediately broadcasted this information to other officers in the area. This detailed and efficient broadcast resulted in Officer Thorne swiftly apprehending the suspect only 3 to 4 blocks from the scene within 4 minutes of the reported robbery. Search incident to arrest, Officer Thorne located the BB pistol used during the robbery along with personal property belonging to the victim. After interviewing the suspect and committing him to central booking, Officers Thorne and Meeker took the time, responded back to the crime scene, and found the victim's wallet that had been discarded in a trash can. This is an example of excellent police work and dedication to a victim of crime and displays a positive image for the York City Police Department. In accordance with this York City Police Department General Order for Recognition of Achievement, Officers Meeker and Thorne are awarded the Chief's Commendation for superior performance.
Chief's Commendation for Sergeants Lawrence, Officer Davis, Kelly, Craven, Lentz, and Martin. On Saturday, October 31st, 2015, at 20:58 hours, Officer Davis responded to handle a stolen vehicle and robbery report from Ethan Knobb and his fiancee, Lane Bleachley. Both these individuals had been standing outside their residence at 46 South Pine Street with their 5-month-old daughter when their car was taken at gunpoint by 3 young males. Knobb's wallet and cell phone were also taken. A short time later, a pursuit with the stolen vehicle ensued in which one of the 3 individuals jumped out of the vehicle and fled on foot. Officers from the Southwest Neighborhood Unit continued the pursuit, and the vehicle was eventually stopped at North Hartley and Tate Street. A foot pursuit ensued with 2 remaining suspects. Officers Craven, Lentz, and Martin apprehended one of the suspects, and Sergeant Lawrence apprehended the other. While this was going on, Officer Kelly used an iPhone app to track the Bleachley's cell phone and recover it. The victim's house key were also recovered and returned by Officer Davis. Within 1 hour and 20 minutes, a robbery was solved, property was returned, and a certain degree of closure and peace of mind was given to the victims of this crime. In the victim's own words to the mayor, he stated, "I was in awe at the effectiveness and quick response of the officers involved in bringing some resolution to this horrible incident." Knob went on to praise all the officers involved, Sergeant Lawrence, Officer Davis, Kelly, Craven, Lentz, and Martin, for their professionalism, compassion, and effectiveness during this crisis. In accordance with York City Police General Order for Recognition for Treatment, those officers are hereby awarded the Chief's Commendation for superior performance.
And I already know Officers Hunter and Schick aren't with us today, but both of those officers are receiving this award. On November 25th, 2015, Officers Hunter and Schick were on foot patrol in the area of the 600 block of West Poplar Street due to a rash of burglaries that occurred in that area. At 3:30 a.m., the officers observed 2 males run out of the rear of 129 South Belvedere Avenue. They could hear a victim yelling that he had just chased the 2 males out of his residence. The officers pursued the 2 males and subsequently arrested them in the 600 block of Hikes Alley. The officers charged both males for felony criminal trespass. They then turned the arrest information over to the Detective Division as possible suspects in the recent burglaries. The Detective Bureau was able to charge one of the males with a felony burglary that occurred in 2014. Due to the officers' alert observations and outstanding deductive skills, 2 burglars were arrested and a cold case had been solved. In accordance with the York City Police Department's general orders, Officers Hunter and Schick are hereby awarded the Chief's Commendation.
This award's for Officer Ebersol, and I know he is off still nursing an injury. On November 7th, 2015, at approximately 2:40 a.m., Officer Ebersol was working at York Hospital detail when he heard patrol officers dispatched to a home invasion. Officer Ebersol continued to listen to the radio and was able to hear that one of the suspects had been stabbed. A short time later, a stabbing victim arrived at York Hospital via personal vehicle. Knowing there were a number of subjects involved with this incident, Officer Ebersol went outside to get the vehicle information for its possible involvement. When Ebersol did this, he also came in contact with 3 other subjects who he was able to detain until other patrol units arrived and were able to identify these subjects as the other suspects involved in the home invasion. The actions on the part of Ebersol led to 4 felony arrests in regards to a home invasion robbery. In accordance with the York City Police Department's General Order for Recognition of Achievement, Officer Michael Ebersol is hereby awarded the Chief's Commendation for his superior performance.
Officer Reedy. You need to sit up front. On December 12th, 2015, around 12:30 p.m., Officer Reedy was dispatched to a shots fired call in the 600 block of West Philadelphia Street. Officer Reedy found the victim and was able to get a description of the shooter. And a short time later, the victim was able to point that person out a short distance away. Officer Reedy approached the subject and challenged him, after which the suspect took off running. During the foot pursuit, the suspect threw the gun away in an attempt to conceal it. Officer Reedy was able to take the subject into custody and direct the officers to the firearm, a .38 caliber revolver, which was recovered along with some ammunition and a small amount of marijuana. Because of Officer Reedy's quick response and observations, the shooting suspect was apprehended and subsequently charged with aggravated assault, reckless endangering, and firearms violations. In accordance with the general orders, Officer Reedy is hereby granted a Chief's Commendation for his superior performance.
Detectives Fetro, Detective Nadsom, Officer Gladfelder, Officer Reedy, Officer Kaler, and Officer Reisenweber. In December of 2015, York City was experiencing a trend of burglaries in the downtown area. Detective Fetro discovered this trend through the excellent reporting of Officer Kaler and analyzed the data to the degree that he found they were related and developed a suspect description and shared this information with officers of the department. Detective Nadsom identified the suspect from Detective Fetro's description, and soon after, Officers Gladfelder and Reedy found and arrested the suspect for one of the recent burglaries. Officer Reisenweber processed many of the burglaries and was able to link several of them forensically, which allowed Detective Fetro to charge the suspect with several of these burglaries. The trend of burglaries subsequently stopped after the capture of the suspect. In accordance with the York City Police General Orders for recognition of achievement, the following officers are awarded the Chief's Commendation for superior performance.
Getting close to the end, we're going to shift gears and hand out a Director's Award of Achievement. And what this award's for is generally given out each year if there's an individual or group of individuals within the police department that excel for that year at investigations. It could be a long-term investigation that took place that year, or just an overall exemplary performance that an individual officer gave. So at this point, I would like to ask Officer Pelton to come forward. Officer Pelton's current assignment is with the Nuisance Abatement Squad. He has been with the Nuisance Abatement Unit since 2011. His main duties are dealing with quality of life issues in the city, but he has also assists the Vice and Narcotics Unit as well as the U.S. Marshals Service when they need assistance. He will often change his schedule at a moment's notice on a regular basis without complaint to assist these other agencies and to attack problems that arise in the city. In 2015, Officer Pelton conducted 49 different quality of life details. These details included traffic problems, nuisance bars, prostitution, neighborhood cleanups, and numerous warrant details. He organized these details with several agencies, including other city departments, as well as county and state agencies. These details netted 108 persons arrested with 285 warrants served, 315 traffic citations issued, and 65 non-traffic citations issued. The warrant details resulted in the collection of more than $26,000 in fines that had been outstanding. Pelton personally issued 111 of the 315 traffic citations. In 2015, Officer Pelton was responsible for conducting 45 drug investigations. Pelton would often work undercover, riding with informants when the transactions were being made. Through these investigations, Pelton has developed his own intelligence network. Many of these details involve street-level dealers, and some led to larger mid-level dealers. These investigations resulted in 51 criminal arrests. Officer Pelton was also involved in Operation White Rose. This was a 3-year investigation in the city of York, which involved the arrest of 26 individuals who were indicted federally. Pelton spent 2 months in the spring of 2015 assisting the ATF and U.S. Attorney's Office in rounding up more than 25 felony suspects. In the fall of 2015, he spent another 2 months assisting these agencies by locating, transporting, and interviewing witnesses for this case. He testified himself in the case numerous times during a 6-week-long trial. The result was a guilty verdict of all defendants. In accordance with York City Police Department's General Orders for recognition of achievement, Officer Zachary Pelton is hereby awarded the Director's Award of Achievement for his superior performance. We have one more award to give out before we get to the Officer of the Year, and this award we don't give out too often. I'm going to ask the mayor to come forward because it is her award. It's called the Mayor's Medal of Distinction. Excuse me, of distinction. And this award is given out to an individual who, over the lifetime of their career, performs at such a high level above what's expected of our officers to perform at. So, Mayor, I'd like you to come forward.
Does he know? No. Oh, okay. Well, he knows now. Would Detective First Class Jeffrey Spence come forward? Detective First Class Jeffrey Spence was hired in January of 1989 after serving 4 years in the United States Air Force. He was assigned to the Patrol Division and also worked as a school resource officer at William Penn Senior High School. Officer Spence immediately became an asset to the police department due to his knowledge of the city and the relationships he had built as a city resident and a graduate from York High. It was also during this time that Officer Spence was recognized for his involvement with the youth in York City as a volunteer coach. After being promoted in 1998 to the rank of detective, Detective Spence quickly learned investigative skills and used his ability to communicate with people to begin solving major cases. He currently serves as a supervisor of the Crimes Against Persons section of the Investigative Services Division and can be found either participating in or supervising all investigations related to homicides, shootings, or armed robberies. His abilities have led to him to participate, consult, or testify in major cases in New York City, Baltimore, Maryland, and Los Angeles, California, just to name a few cities. During his career, Detective First Class Spence was personally involved in well over 100, unfortunately, homicide investigations, and helps lead a squad of detectives who have a clearance rate in the high 90 percentile, well above the national average. He has received 2 unit commander commendations, 18 chief's commendations, and an award of merit. In 2008, Detective First Class Spence was named as the York City Police Department's Officer of the Year. Throughout his career, he has also received awards of recognition from the Pennsylvania Attorney General's Office and the New York City Police Department. Most recently, Detective First Class Spence played a major role in the Southside Criminal Street Gang federal investigation. He cultivated relationships leading to reliable informants and later testified 18 times during the case involving over 30 major incidents of violence that spanned a 4-year period of time. His participation in the case helped to ensure the conviction of 12 persons being held on federal racketeering charges. Detective First Class Spence not only uses his ability to speak with people regarding major crimes, but has the unique ability to connect with crime victims and witnesses on a genuine level that leads to increased cooperation and long-term relationships. In 2015, his ability to befriend the brother of a missing 10-year-old boy led to information that allowed the missing brother to be located when no other law enforcement official was able to garner the information from the young man. Detective First Class Spence worked closely with the young man, driving him around the city to identify locations and people who knew his brother. While finding the missing child was the main focus of the investigation, the child's brother now looks at police as people to trust, thanks to his interaction with Detective First Class Spence. Since 1989, when Detective First Class Spence joined the York City Police Department, he has worked tirelessly to represent crime victims and their families. He has continued an exceptional work ethic and clearance rate over the length of his career and serves as a model example for young officers and investigators to emulate as to how they should serve the citizens of York. In accordance to the Police Department's general orders, the Mayor's Medal of Distinction is awarded to a police officer who has rendered distinction or distinguished service, demonstrated an exceptional degree of good judgment, initiative, and competence in his or her field of endeavor, and has sustained this record of outstanding service over a period of time. Detective First Class Jeffrey Spence has met these requirements, as demonstrated, and it is my honor to hereby award him with the Mayor's Medal of Distinction.
I asked the chief if I could say some words. I'm gonna try to get them out, okay? Because that man means a lot to me. And I'd like to want to thank a couple people, personally and professionally. Today, I was so honored that Tim and Paul got promoted. Because I'm so proud of all the guys I work with. They're like my little brothers. And this is my city, like I've said. And a lot of these guys aren't from the city, but they have adopted my credo that, and basically adopted it as their own. And that's all I've ever wanted. It's been an honor for me to work with all those guys in the Detective Bureau because they make my life so much easier. It's one of the few places left that fraternity really stands for something. I'd like to thank the people that have come before me, my predecessors. Russ, I know you were there at Ron Heist's funeral, and a lot of those things that were said there about Ron meant a lot to me. Those that don't know me, my dad was a police officer here. He was a detective. Posthumously, he received this award. That's why I'm crying right now. But guys like Ron Heist and Denny Smith, Denny Williams, Vic Castellano, Bill Smallwood, all those detectives that came before me, they instilled something in me. I don't know if you call it a legacy, but an itch that made me want to do this job. And I saw how they interacted with each other and what it meant to be a police officer. And that was instilled upon me at a very young age. Also professionally, I'd like to thank Wes, who just gave this award to me. Tony, Fetro, Wes, Kaylee, and I, we came on right around the same time. And I just looked the other day at that picture from our Goon Squad days. I think we're the only three left. But Wes became the lieutenant of the detective division. And you guys know me, have a reputation of being somewhat of a wild card. He believed in me. He saw something in me that all my other commanders didn't see. And he nurtured it. And for that, I'm always going to be thankful. Personally, I'd like to thank my mom. She gave me a thirst for knowledge that I've never, ever stopped wanting to learn. Sitting next to her is my niece, Bree, who showed me what courage is about with her fight with leukemia. And she never gave up. Her sister's right next to my sister, Shawnee, who stood by her side by side. My sister's right there, Christy. She went to York High. She's like my protector. Even though she knew I was a screw-up, she would never let anybody say anything bad about her big brother. Mike, my stepfather there. My brother, he showed me how to be competitive and appreciate sports in a way that taught me pretty much everything I know to be a leader. Oh, there's my friend Jake from high school. I love you, Jake. You have taught me how to be myself. We went to York High. We were the white kids that broke dance and hook out of school to go to museums and go to other towns and just experience new things. But the most important person here is my daughter right there, Anna. She taught me the most important thing I think I've learned as a cop. Unconditional love. But every time you go to a scene or somebody's laying there, so no matter, people say, oh, that person, he probably had it coming or whatever. There's somebody's mama that loves that boy the way I love that girl. So what she's taught me is to be empathetic. And for that, Hannah, I love you. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, we're just finished concluding the program, and we're going to award the Officer of the Year for 2015. I'd like Mike Fisher from Harley-Davidson to come forward, please. Harley's always a great partner with us in helping recognize our Officers of the Year. Once again, they've stepped forward to do that for us, so we very much appreciate that. The Officer of the Year is awarded each year. Each of our shifts come together and they put an officer forward if they feel that that person is deemed worthy of becoming the police department's Officer of the Year. At our staff meeting, it's voted on by the command staff after reading each entry, and the FOP is there also. Sometimes it's very tough, and this year was another one of those years, which I think is a great thing when we do a voting and there's ties and we have to vote again and again to make sure we narrow it down to the person that deserves to get this honor. I think it says a lot about our police department and the quality of the officers that we have serving for us. At this point, I would like to ask Officer Sean Haggerty to come forward, please. The Police Officer of the Year award is given annually to that officer who embodies a high moral character and demonstrates exemplary performance in all areas of police work, and more importantly, strives to help the community in which he serves grow and flourish. This officer gives more of himself than asked and often makes sacrifices to benefit the greater good without expectation of acknowledgement. Officer Haggerty responded to 1,261 calls for service last year, handling everything from parking complaints to homicides in the course of his duties. This officer investigated and charged 23 individuals for felony violations and 35 individuals for misdemeanor offenses ranging from drug violations to aggravated assault. These efforts, particularly in narcotics investigations, have resulted in the following seizures: heroin, 1,587 bags valued at more than $15,000, 32.36 grams of raw unpackaged heroin valued at more than $3,000, 11.29 grams of cocaine valued at more than $3,000, 8 firearms, and over $6,000 in cash. This is in addition to the $18,700 in heroin seized from one residence in the first block of East Maple Street, and the $17,000 in raw heroin and $6,680 in packaged heroin, $1,000 in powder cocaine, and $500 in crack cocaine seized from another residence in the 500 block of West Clark Avenue while working with the Drug Task Force. He also served 93 outstanding warrants and recorded 169 reports during the course of the year. An important component to patrol is the time spent on foot walking in various neighborhoods. Officer Haggerty spent nearly 167 hours on foot patrolling various neighborhoods to deter the criminal element. Regardless of adverse weather conditions, this officer walked his post, augmenting his patrols in response to criminal activity or quality of life issues that afflict particular neighborhoods. On these foot patrols, Officer Haggerty forged new relationships and developed a trust with the residents. This trust reflects highly on the police department as a whole and has subsequently reduced the barriers police encounter when investigating crimes in their community. In addition, Officer Haggerty spent nearly 1,177 hours investigating reported crimes to reach a point where prosecution was viable. This could not have been achieved had this community partnership not been forged. Officer Haggerty maintains a quiet demeanor and rarely draws attention to himself or his accomplishments. His dedication to the community is also apparent in the time he spends visiting local schools and speaking with students in conjunction with our Community Services Division, offering guidance and mentoring the children of the city. This quality time spent aids in providing a deterrence to those youth that are at risk for becoming involved in gang-type activity. Officer Haggerty's reputation in the courts is impeccable. District attorneys, judges, and victims' representatives often comment on his professionalism and attention to detail he demonstrates when preparing cases, and victims comment on his compassion, the compassion he displays for those he represents. He makes a habit of doing the extra work that secures a conviction or helps a victim cope with their loss or pain. Again, this extra is given without expectation of recognition or acknowledgement. Officer Sean Haggerty is hereby awarded the 2015 Police Officer of the Year Award. Harley Davidson.
Harley Davidson, congratulations. Thank you so much for service. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do you have a Harley?
I'm gonna have to get one now.
I was gonna say, I'm sure they can help you out with that. You like to say anything?
I'd just like to briefly say thank you. The chief, I think, has pretty much said it all, that anything we do in police work is a team effort. I'd just like to briefly thank just some of the people that made some of those arrests possible, because it sounds super impressive by itself. However, without the other individuals involved, none of those arrests would have truly been possible. I'd like to thank Chief Cayley and the command staff, Captain Utley and Captain Butler, for allowing me the time away sometimes from my patrol duties in order to grow as a police officer here in the city. I'd like to thank the Vice and Narcotics Unit for their mentorship and guidance, specifically Detective Andy Schaefer, Detective Scott Nadzim, and Detective Bart Seelig, along with the nuisance abatement. I'd also like to thank Lieutenant Glenn Knauer for kind of nurturing my sometimes craziness, going out and trying to get the arrest done. He always made it possible to make the time available. I'd like to thank Sergeant Goshen for also nurturing that same aspect, and my other patrol officers for their support and providing information and support on the street whenever I needed to go out and make an arrest. They never hesitated twice to come help me. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Again, as you can hear, our officers do an exceptional job each year. And again, these are the things that we hear about. I watch it every day. I'm amazed at the work that we do. I really wouldn't, I'm growing to the end of my career as a police officer, and I wouldn't necessarily want to come on today because these officers work under very extreme circumstances. They're being watched more than ever. They're expected to be more professional than ever. And they hold that standard. They make fantastic arrests, and they serve our community with an exceptional performance. I can't say enough about them. So at this time, I would like Reverend Ulrich to come forward again to give the benediction.
I first wanted to say what an honor it was for me to be able to participate in the awards ceremony. I've only been a chaplain for about 3 or 4 years. I'm full-time a pastor at Faith United Church of Christ, where we are honored to host the annual FOP Memorial Service each year, and that'll be 3 weeks from now on Sunday, May the 1st at 11 a.m. for any who would want to be present for that service. Let us close then, asking God for a blessing. We give you thanks, O God, for raising up among us those who are willing to stand out among us as examples of courage, valor, and bravery. And as we are blessed through those who have been recognized today for their achievements, may we now be blessed by you, our faithful God, as we all strive to serve you and one another and our community. Amen.
Thank you, everyone. Bill, sorry, man.